Good evening and welcome to Fast Fridays presented by Maconi Setup Shop. Once again, folks, we have revamped the format for this series, and tonight we have the SRX cars here at Iowa for our final qualifying race before next week's monthly money race. For those of you who haven't joined us before, Fast Fridays is a weekly series presented by Maconi Setup Shop, featuring a varying car and track combination each and every week. And with this revamped format, we're seeing now the drivers enter these qualifying races in order to qualify automatically into the big money race coming up next week. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me in the booth tonight is Chris Wright, with David Kreutz working the controls as our producer. And Chris, seeing as we're in these SRX cars tonight at Iowa, this is one of the newer cars on iRacing. What can we expect out here tonight?
Well, I think one thing we can expect out here tonight is a lot of wear on the right front tire. These things are going to be really tight. It's going to be really hard to get these things to turn. A lot of these guys, I think, are going to die a lot of rear braking here tonight. It's going to be 100 laps. We've got, I think, what, 6 guys out here, maybe 6 or 7 guys. It's going to be an exciting race, and these cars are tanks too. You know, they're really tight and really durable. So I think we're going to see a great race and a lot of action tonight here at Iowa.
Definitely going to be an interesting one. As you see the starting grid on your screen now, Jonathan Sellers going to roll off from the pole. Jeremy Briggs, one of our colleagues here at Maconi Entertainment, going to start second. Brandon Dukes and Blake Crane make up row number 3, with Alexander Ortega and Jeff Maconi making up row number 3. Some of the others still in this race that did not take a time tonight include the likes of Ryan Kelly, Penn Suter as well. And I believe we have one more, Brandon Dukes, that's also out there on the racetrack. So 7 cars going to join us here for this one tonight. Chris, should be a good race. Actually, 8 cars. I do stand corrected. 100 laps on the docket, and we're going to get set to go green rather quickly here at Iowa. I believe it's 2 pace laps for the starting of this one. So we'll go around one more time before we go green. And Chris, you know I like to always do this anytime we're in the booth together. Why don't we go ahead and make some race picks here? Who do you got taking this one?
Well, it's you know, you can take Jonathan Sellers, Jeremy Briggs. All these guys are going to be super good. But what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to take. Man, I don't know. This is tough. I don't know these guys, but I'll just pick the last car in line. I'll pick Ryan Kelly to win it from the back of the field. It's a great looking car out there for him as well.
Definitely a good pick there, taking Ryan Kelly. He's going to roll off in position number 8. A lot of these cars very similar in looks and whatnot, but I'm going to go with... Ooh, this is tough. I know he was really excited about this one tonight and getting out here at the last second. Not much practice, but I'm going to go with the boss man, Jeff Maconi, to get it done here tonight at Iowa. As it looks like we're getting down to the tail end of the pace lap here. Fred, the pace car driver, does take a pit side. We're going to get set to go green this time. On the front row, once again, Jonathan Sellers, Jeremy Briggs, and we are green flag racing here at Iowa. Chris, right?
Yeah, we are green, and it was a very sloppy start there. I believe Jeremy Briggs is going to get a black flag there. So I think he's going to have to serve a drive-through right here this very first lap. So very unfortunate start for him. That he's down on the apron, nearly spinning out, trying to get that thing down the pit road. But he is going to make it down there, get the speed, and I'm sure he will catch a caution. And as I say that, there it is. It's Penn Suter. It's around on the front stretch.
Caution's out for Penn Suter. We'll take a look here momentarily and see what happened to him. I think he just got a little bit too sideways, and it kicked off that yellow flag. But for Briggs, is that a saving point, Chris, or is that still kind of a bit of a pain? Because he's going to have to... Well, that was a bit more than just a slide for Penn Suter, as he's going to bring out the caution, having a connection issue as well on the Penn Suter machine. And there we go. Luckily for Jeremy Briggs, his black flag was just cleared, so he is going to be A-okay. And, well, David Kreutz, why don't we go ahead and talk about the big event coming up here on iRacing in the next couple of weeks. Jeff Maconi brought this to our attention earlier tonight. We're glad to share it with you. There you see it on your screen, the upcoming MS charity event here on the iRacing service. That's going to be on July the 17th. iRacing will be broadcasting this race winners of the qualifying events for the MS broadcasted race will be racing against some real world racing celebrities. I don't have the list of those celebrities yet, but going to be very cool to see. And this will be taking place in the street stocks for the winners and other donors, while the celebrities are going to be driving in GT3s. So that's going to be quite the event. Stay tuned to iRacing.com and iRacing socials for more information in the days leading up to that one. That is about 2 weeks away now, Chris, and should be an exciting event.
Yeah, everybody make sure you tune in, and we are going to have a quickie yellow here. I think the pace car is going to pull off this time, and it does, and we are about ready to go green once again.
Jonathan Sellers, another great start. Actually, nearly contact on that initial start there, Chris, with Dukes and Sellers nearly coming together now side by side for second. Alexander Ortega down on the inside. Brandon Dukes up on the high side. Jeff Maconi going to come now to the inside of Brandon Dukes. They're going to be just about side by side for position number 3 as we work our way through turns 3 and 4. Sellers going to slide up, opens the door to the inside for Alexander Ortega as the battle's on for the race lead.
Yeah, the battle is on for the race lead, but right now it is still all Sellers. Oh, we got one car.
Wow.
Trying to take the lead using the wall there a little bit.
Yeah, that was Brandon Dukes looking for a little bit of extra grip up on the high side. Sellers going to have some issues up there as well. Now Jeff Maconi going to get to the inside of him. Dukes up to the high side of Sellers. They're going to be side by side. That was a cool camera shot right there. Great job, David Kreutz. As the 17 machine of Ryan Kelly going to come up and look to the inside of Jeff Maconi. That was your pick here tonight, Chris Wright, to get it done, and now he finds himself in the top 5.
Yeah, and it looks like he's trying to do it on the bottom. We're seeing a lot of these guys already move up the track just because it's going to be easier to make the corner that way. However, I'm not sure if they're allowed any tire changes tonight, what the tire rules are exactly. So if you have to make these things last 100 laps, running the bottom is going to do that, whereas running the top is going to be, you know, all the speed.
That's a fantastic question, Chris Wright. And to clarify those rules, tonight these drivers have unlimited tire sets available to them, so no restriction on tires as the battle's on for the lead. Jeff Maconi goes down to the inside of Alexander Ortega. Ortega going to use that high side to power back out to the top spot as the caution's out. Once again, it is Penn Sauter going to bring out the caution.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you what, Penn Sauter was a bull in a china shop that time, 2, 3, and 4, as he hit a couple different cars, and he ultimately paid the price and spun out.
Unfortunately there for Penn Sauter, that's going to bring out caution number 2 already here tonight. And
you see,
for his sake,
drives into the back of the 17 and then drives up into the side of the 5 and spins himself.
Yeah, hits Ryan Kelly, hits Jonathan Sellers. Somebody slaps the outside wall there just behind him as well. I believe that was Jeremy Briggs in the 7 machine that's going to get up there into that outside wall.
Ooh, somebody just said their car is totaled.
Total. Okay, so that's I believe that's probably Jeremy Briggs that's mentioning that he's having some issues there, Chris, with the race car at this point. Had some contact with the outside wall. And I do want to say I was able to get out there a little bit earlier, do a couple practice laps. This car is definitely tight. It doesn't necessarily like to navigate the corners very well, and we're seeing the high side really coming into play for these guys tonight, and that's for a reason. The inside, you're having to lift too much, it's pushing too much, it gets very tight down there, but up top you're kind of able to rotate it a little bit more, kick that rear end out, and almost drive it like a dirt track up on the high side. So you're seeing that come into play as the night goes along. But on the front row, Alexander Ortega is the leader once again. Jeff Maconi to his outside. Row number 2 is Ryan Kelly and Blake Crane. Brandon Dukes, Jonathan Sellers in row 3. Penn Sauter and Jeremy Briggs bringing up the rear of the field as Fred the pace car driver heads pit side once again. Barney the flagman has the green flag in his hand, and we are back on our way, in a great jump once again by Alexander Ortega. And Chris, there must not be lane change rules here tonight, because Ortega was up on the high side before he even thought about coming to the start finish line.
Yeah, and the restart itself was really sloppy. Nobody was lined up there on the inside line after the lead. It was kind of weird looking. So we survived it. We're going on through here.
Wow, that was tight for third right there between the 15 of Brandon Dukes and the 17 of Ryan Kelly. There was a bit of a slider that took place there, and there was hardly room to fit a piece of paper between those two race cars. Is now the 17 machine of Kelly gonna jet up into position number 3, going side by side with second place Jeff Maconi there through turns 3 and 4. This racetrack has some absolutely stellar camera shots here tonight, Chris, right? As we're seeing right down on the racetrack some of the angles these drivers are having to take to navigate around the racetrack. As we're watching the 5 of Jonathan Sellers, he's in a tight battle with the 12 of Blake Crane and the 45 of Penn Sauter. Sauter has the pace here tonight, Chris. He's up in the 5th position. It's just unfortunately for him, maybe the handling has not necessarily been where he's liked here so far tonight, as he's going to come down and make contact with Jonathan Sellers and now get punted by Blake Crane in the 12.
Well, I'll tell you this, Sauter is living up to his name, looking like the other Sauters. He's a bull in a china shop out here, like I already mentioned once. He's got a lot of speed, but he's being super aggressive, and I don't know if these guys are going to take too kindly to that as you see him slide way up the track, just driving down into the corner really hard. And I'm going to tell you another driver out here, Brandon Dukes. I have seen him go down into turn 1 and hit that wall 3 or 4 times now, and somebody should tell him he's not going to be able to move the wall out. He's not going to be able to give himself more room down there. I really like what Kelly's doing there on the bottom, but like you mentioned with unlimited tires tonight, there's really no reason to save him. You're probably not going to have to make him live, so right now he's looking good though. It looks like he's made his tires live better than everybody.
Oh, caution! Penn Sauter gonna go around once again. Jeremy Briggs gonna be involved in that one as well. I believe Jonathan Sellers got a piece. The 12 is not happy. Blake Crane gonna go after Penn Sauter once again, sends him around. So we got beef on the racetrack here tonight, Chris, right?
Yeah, and it looks like back there to start the wreck, Sauter was just driving really hard, and he hit the wall out of 4 and caused a major issue there. As you see right here, I'm not sure what we're looking.
Wow.
We're looking at the caution right here with Sauter.
Taking a look at the caution here, it's the 45 of Sauter. The 5 just ahead of him is Jonathan Sellers. Sauter hits the wall, then has a blinking moment there. We're watching the 7 of Jeremy Briggs, the 12 as well. That is Blake Crane just ahead. Sauter into the outside wall, down into Briggs, down into Crane, and they're all going to go around. Crane gonna smash into the inside wall. A little bit of contact still going on the racetrack between Sauter and Crane. So this one gonna continue, I think, for quite some time here tonight. We'll see what happens as the evening goes along, but definitely a rivalry brewing here between Sauter and Crane that we'll have to keep an eye on throughout the evening.
I will say this. I think every series needs a Sauter, I guess, and that's what it's looking like out here.
Yeah.
He is, or Paul Tracy. You know, that might be more current for some of our
more fitting
younger,
with the SRX car.
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it and pick up that briefcase and carry it on for Paul, because Paul got kicked out of the real life SRX series. So Sauter's got a lot of guys mad at him. That's for sure.
Definitely interesting here, Chris Wright. Blake Crane and Jeremy Briggs are going to be the first 2 drivers off of pit road in this cycle. So they were involved in that latest incident. Now going to find themselves actually leading the field, the 12 of Crane, the 7 of Briggs. So what I'm wondering is, did they come down and take their one fast repair on this pit cycle, and that's how they were able to exit so quickly, as actually Briggs going to come back down pit road now, leading the front row to Blake Crane and Alexander Ortega. Row 2 is going to be Ryan Kelly and Brandon Dukes. Row 3, Jonathan Sellers and Penn Sauter, with Jeff Maconi and Jeremy Briggs bringing up the rear of the field.
Yeah, looking at these cars, I think they did take their fast repair. So I believe that is what happened. They've used their fast repair, but that's it. They don't have any more.
And Penn Sauter has just been removed from the server. He's done for the night. So those rivalries have ended. I want to see if we can have a quick word with Jeremy Briggs under the next caution, because I do believe this one will likely be shortened this time by. So we'll just wait a couple of moments for either a caution or the end of the race, and we'll see if we can have a word with Jeremy Briggs at some point here this evening. See what he just went through in that incident. As yes, we do go 1 to green this time. And once again, as mentioned, it's Blake Crane, Alexander Ortega, row number 1, Ryan Kelly, Brandon Dukes, row 2, Jonathan Sellers, Jeff Maconi, row 3, with Jeremy Briggs bringing up the rear of the field. I guess I forgot how to talk tonight, Chris.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that we're going to see some green flag racing now. I think I'm not going to say who was the reason we weren't having green flag racing, but I think we're about to see us of at least 10, 15, maybe 20 laps. Maybe we'll go to the end from here.
Well, Chris, and I'm going to break some sports news right now, folks. The NHL draft is underway. The first overall pick has just gone, and to nobody's surprise, except maybe Chris Wright, because I don't think he follows hockey much, out of Boston University, Macklin Celebrini going to be picked number 1 to the San Jose Sharks, as we're getting set to go green this time. Blake Crane, Alexander Ortega, and we are green.
What a great start, too. That was the best start yet. These guys are figuring it out. Every restart is getting a little better, and you see that once again. Whoever is running up there in second place, third place, fourth place, they go right in, right at the wall into turn 1. It seems to work too, so I don't know why we're not doing that maybe further into the run. As you see here, he's going to try to elevator move here.
What a move! What a move right there by Alexander Ortega. Going to go up to the lead, 3 wide through the middle up on the high side. That's the 12 of Crane. Ryan Kelly down on the inside. Here comes Jeffrey Maconi as well, trying to join that fight. Ryan Kelly going to be side by side with Ortega for the top spot. What a battle here. 5 cars under a blanket right now. Heck, you could even make that 7, as Jonathan Sellers and Jeremy Briggs are right there as well.
Yeah, and what a great battle for the lead. You're seeing the car on the outside give up a lot on the entry, and then he turns down across the track and just powers off, and you see it here. He's going to get clear in the lead. We'll see if he stays on that top side or if he's going to try to go to the bottom. Looks like he's going to take that same angle. Really overslows the center and then just drives straight up off the corner. He's going to push right here, though. Not going to get quite the run we've seen. And here comes Maconi right to his bumper.
Jeff Maconi on the high side, just behind that 16 of Ortega. Now Maconi going to look to the middle. They're going to be 3 wide off of turn number 2. Contact right there between the 17 of Kelly and the 03 of Maconi. Now Maconi going to look back to the high side, not quite able to get there that time. Here comes the 15 of Dukes back into the fight as well. The top 4 all together here just past the start finish line. The 16 of Ortega going to dive deep into turns 1 and 2, gets into the outside wall. He continues to be side by side with Ryan Kelly. Now Maconi takes a look to the inside, not quite able to get there as they continue to be side by side through turns number 3 and 4. Now here comes Dukes up on the high side. Like you said, Chris, whoever can get, sideways goes Maconi, and the caution's out. Contact with Ortega leads to Jeff Maconi going around, and we're under caution once again here on lap number 25.
Yeah, it's Maconi might be a little bit upset about that, the way that happened, but he didn't hit anything hard, so I don't think he's going to have to use his fast repair.
Jeff's a racer. I think he's just going to be pumped from the battles that they were having up there at the front. It sucks when you end up getting spun out in a wreck, but there wasn't really a ton that Alexander Ortega could have done differently there. Obviously, could have lifted maybe a little bit more, but the battles that they had were absolutely phenomenal up there at the front. Jeff's going to have to tack back onto the rest of the field, but either way, these guys are having themselves a good show.
Yeah, and one thing here too is, that 16, we saw him doing that the way he was running those corners was really overslow in the middle, driving off, and it looked like at the point in the run we were just a few laps in, it was already going away. So I almost wonder if he already had hurt that right front, because we saw him just push straight out into the wall, bounce off the wall, and come down to get Maconi there.
Well, Chris, let's see if we can get a quick word with Jeremy Briggs here, and we'll see if he has a moment for us. It's 1 to green, but he could still drive and talk. Jeremy Briggs, it's Robert and Chris up here in the booth. You got a copy, my friend?
Got a copy. You guys got a copy down here?
Yes, sir. We got you loud and clear. How's this race going so far for you, buddy?
Absolute headache. I'm over it. This has been long, and it's only been 28 laps.
It's actually only 27, so we're not even 28 yet, Jeremy.
Oh, my goodness. Don't even make it. Don't tell me that.
What's the toughest part for you so far?
Navigating some wishy-washy cars and just trying to get into a rhythm here. Just been having so many quick cautions here. Can't really figure out where to run it at.
Well,
So
Jeremy, we'll
they're definitely tight.
it definitely does look tight. We'll let you get back to it, and maybe we'll grab another word with you a little bit later on. Best of luck.
10-4 sounds good. See you guys soon.
That was Jeremy Briggs getting set for the restart here. Going to start outside of row number 2 as we're back under green flag conditions. Ryan Kelly on the loud pedal. Great jump for him out front. Jonathan Sellers in that second spot ahead of Dukes, Maconi, and Briggs.
Yeah, and our leader, Mr. Kelly, has driven off as big of a lead as we've seen all night long. 3 wide for second. Here we go. Maconi right back to it. That 15 is going to drive down into the corner. He's going to have to be really careful coming off the corner. Had to check up.
Wow.
He's going to give up second. They're going to be 3 wide. 4 cars under a blanket here for second.
Contact for the third or fourth, whatever position that one is, with the 15 machine of Dukes and the 5 of Sellers getting together, continuing to be 3 wide now as Ortega down to the inside, Maconi in the middle. That continues to be Dukes up on the high side. Is just in the background there. You see Jonathan Sellers and Jeremy Briggs coming together. Here comes Maconi down to the inside of Ortega. There was contact there with the 15 machine of Dukes just a moment ago, but continuing to battle it out for second and third on the racetrack. And this is allowing Ryan Kelly to absolutely pull away. He has no challenge whatsoever on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, he is grinning ear to ear. He says, y'all keep running side by side or 3 wide or whatever you're doing. But now they're finally getting lined up here. It looks like the 16 is established second. They've stopped the bleeding. They broke even with the leader last time. We'll see what happens moving forward here. And that, you know, look at the separation now between Alexander and Brandon. You know, all of a sudden he is driven away from that third place car.
I think the one thing is, Chris, once you're able to clear whoever you're battling with and you have clean air, you don't have any sort of pullback aerodynamically, you're able to pull away. And that's what we're seeing by Alex Ortega, as well as our leader, Ryan Kelly. These guys, such as the 15 of Dukes, the 03 of Maconi, the 7 of Briggs, the 5 of Sellers, them being all together is just pulling them together like magnets, keeping them all tight together. And they're not having the opportunity to pull away whatsoever. As right now we're watching just behind Jeff Maconi, Jonathan Sellers up on the high side. That's Jeremy Briggs on the bottom. Now Briggs is going to be side by side with Maconi. Doesn't want to wreck him because Maconi pays his paycheck, but either way, still going to battle him tough here as Jeremy Briggs is going to fall back into that 6th spot. And they were briefly looking 3 wide.
Yeah, just briefly though. It looks like Mr. Maconi there, I thought he was going to move into third, maybe even have a shot at second, but whatever happened there, he's having to get his self gathered back up and try to make another run at it here and try to run up to this 15 of Brandon Dukes one more time. But we'll see what happens. The lead is shrinking. It's down to 0.8 of a second. It was up to about a second and a quarter, second and a half or so. And it's kind of shrinking there on the 15 as well. We'll see what happens this time. Yeah, it's down to half a second between first and second. Maconi just pulls over down the front stretch. He just pulls over and lets the 2 cars right behind him go.
I think Jeff might be dealing with a little bit of right front damage, Chris. He had a couple of door-to-door incidents with the likes of Alex Ortega as well as with Brandon Dukes not too long ago. So I think it's really affecting the handling of that race car, and he's trying to keep it clean, keep it green as much as he possibly can. But like you mentioned, that gap out front has stayed stagnant about 0.6 of a second separating Kelly and Ortega. But anytime Ortega is really able to jet off at turn number 2, it seems like he's able to close that gap back up just a little bit to Ryan Kelly. And now just visibly you can see, or visually you can see that gap shrinking up at the front as Ortega all over closing the gap on Ryan Kelly, as it's now 0.4 of a second. So 0.2 cut off that time by Brandon Dukes, solidly in that 3rd spot. He's got himself a gap over Jonathan Sellers. Sellers still under fire from Jeremy Briggs, and then they have about a half second back to Jeff Maconi, who has unfortunately lost a bit of time out there on the racetrack. 0.3 of a second now separating Kelly and Ortega. I would say another 2 laps and they're going to be door to door.
And let me tell you, it's not like Ryan Kelly has fallen off. Alex has found some pace here. They are still pulling away from everybody else on the racetrack. You know, 3rd place is still losing at least a 10th or 2 a lap. So whatever's happened here, it's Alex has found something way more than Ryan has lost something.
Yeah, Ryan stayed pretty steady in the high 24s, low 25s, pretty much from the last time that we went green. And Ryan Kelly has kind of been doing the same, but he's been able to gain a couple of tenths of a second. So for him, things are definitely looking a lot better. He cut another tenth of a second that time, and he is almost up to the rear bumper of Ryan Kelly for that top spot. 40 laps in, 60 laps to go here still, so a long way. And yeah, we're talking about these two battling for the top spot, but there's still battles all throughout. Dukes, Sellers, Briggs, Maconi, all duking it out for positions behind. But up front, this is a good one, and it's about to be on.
Yeah. Oh, and he's going to hit the wall.
Oh, no. Ortega into the outside wall right there as we ride on board with Ryan Kelly, the race leader in that 17 machine.
And
Looking
I'll
a
tell you
little
this,
bit further back as well, Briggs and Sellers. Go ahead, Chris.
the way that they kind of paced each other there, I almost wonder if Ryan is just running hard enough here not to hurt his tires. And you see the 16, he is putting it right on the edge there. Drove out and hit the wall. He's going to get tight here. He's going to get tight in this wake. And now, after he hit that wall, he still, did not pick the time back up that time. So I almost wonder if Ryan Kelly just said, you know what, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to run my 80% and I'm going to take care of my right front tire. And he's going to catch me. But when he gets here, he won't have much right front left to do something with me. So we'll see what
Issues
happens.
for the 15 are Brandon Dukes, the third place driver. He's going to take it pit side. Got caught by Jeremy Briggs, who now moves into position number 3. So Briggs, one of those drivers that is on the move here at this point in time, up to that third spot after we just spoke to him under the last caution. Wasn't feeling too hot about this race so far, but now showing himself a little bit of pace. Jeff Maconi has also lost a lap here, Chris Wright. I believe he did just come off of pit road. So issues for Maconi as well as Dukes. Both of those drivers finding themselves one lap down. So up front, it's Kelly and Ortega. And then behind them, it's Briggs and Sellers engaged in a battle themselves. So these guys kind of all in their own little battles at this point. Kelly and Ortega, Briggs and Sellers, and then Maconi and Dukes battling it out for the Lucky Dog.
Here's what I wonder. I almost wonder if they can't make it to the end. Maconi got in the pit window and said, hey, my damage is hurting me. I'm going to go ahead and come down. I'll get my fast tow. I'll get new tires, and I'll go out here and make lap time, because right now Maconi just ran at 24:34, and our leader is running 25:35. So he's picking up a second a lap, and if everybody's going to have to pit, which I'm not sure about the fuel window on these SRX cars, but if everybody has to make a pit stop, if they wait too long and they pit inside of 25 or 30 to go, this might turn into a Maconi race right here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to follow along. These guys could do about 90 or so laps on fuel here, Chris. So just south of what they need to do to make it to the end. So
Well,
not
and
necessarily sure that they do.
So they
need to
should have
pit.
the fuel, yeah. But
Yeah.
this thing is really tight. Like, is the right front going to last? So
That's really what I don't believe that they can do. I don't think they can make it to the end on that original set of tires. Most likely they've already all taken another set at this point in time, as we are approaching halfway. That gap between Kelly and Ortega, we'll give you an update at the line this time as they both cross. It is just under 0.6 of a second now between Kelly and Ortega. So kind of separating a little bit there as well. Just over 1.3 seconds separating Briggs and Sellers. But
And if
I
you just
almost
watch
feel like Jeremy
turn two,
Briggs is one of the quickest cars on the racetrack right now.
if you just watch Kelly and Ortega come off of turn 2, you see how tight Alex is off of 2 versus Kelly. Ryan's able to come off of 2.
Definitely a
get
different.
momentum, whereas, and now you see the 16's up into the wall a little bit down into turn 1. He is trying to figure out how to stop this bleeding. I think the 16, he might be coming pit side here pretty soon. It looks like he is all but destroyed his right front tire.
Chris, I'm going to say this right now. Out of those lead lap cars, I genuinely believe that Jeremy Briggs has the best car right now. He's been able to run some consistent lap times. He's cutting tenths of a second off each and every time. It was another 2 tenths last time by that Jeremy Briggs was quicker than Ryan Kelly. Yes, he's 2.2 seconds back right now, but if he's able to keep up that pace after they come down pit road again, I would definitely expect Jeremy Briggs to have something to say to these leaders at some point in these closing 50 or so laps as we just passed halfway.
Yeah, and the question is Ryan backed off his pace again, or is this what Ryan's got at this point?
I think he
really
cooked
bad.
it a little bit too much, trying to hold off Alexander Ortega, and Briggs is actually catching up very quickly to Ortega. He just cut, I would say, 0.6 of a second in the last lap between himself and Ortega. Ortega is still a little bit slower than that of Ryan Kelly. But again, these two very tight now for that second spot. Jeremy Briggs looking really strong here, and we'll see what he's able to continue to do. And just an update, by the way, Brandon Dukes was 1 lap down last time we updated you. He now finds himself 8 laps down, so I believe issues have continued for Brandon Dukes. That leaves Jeff Maconi as the first driver 1 or more laps down at a single lap to the rear of these leaders, as Dukes is still on pit road.
Yeah, and you're getting ready to see Maconi come into the shot here in this battle for second that we're watching. And Ortega, I am surprised he has not pitted yet. Maybe
Jonathan Sellers to pit road. Just an update. That's our 4th place driver. He's hit pit road.
Yeah, I think we're about to see pit stops. Maybe they're trying to get. My guess is it's been about, at lap 60, it's about 40 laps since their last caution.
Oh, Sellers just went into the wrong pit box, I believe.
Oh, that's not ideal. Don't want to do that.
Yeah, because he dove into a box and then came back out. Side by side for second. Briggs up on the high side. Ortega on the bottom. Jeremy Briggs and that number 7. Maconi setup shot machine. Doing a nice job up on the high side. Wow, that got tight right there. Ortega slid up the racetrack. Nearly contact between the 16 of Ortega, the 7 of Briggs. By the way, Maconi now moves into the 4th spot. He's able to put a lap on Jonathan Sellers, as Sellers just now exiting pit road. I would expect the likes of Ryan Kelly and potentially Alexander Ortega down pit road here soon, if these drivers do indeed need to come down for a pit stop. But these guys doing
Ortega's going to be in any lap now. I think they're shooting for 40 to go.
Maconi's caught up to Ortega, by the way, as well.
Yeah, I think 40 to go splits the race from the last caution, so I think that's what they're looking for. And so I think the 16 is going to be in the pits anytime now.
Here comes Briggs.
Yeah, here comes Briggs and Ortega.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone pretty much coming down except for that of Ryan Kelly at this point. I would expect Kelly to still be able to go a little bit longer.
These guys are side by side in the pits. This is not ideal.
This isn't going to go well.
They did not do a good job coming to pit road either. Those two coming to pit road together on the apron like that, they were really slow. So if Kelly can execute pit road whenever he decides to pit, I mean, if he executes pit road, he's going to gap him 2 seconds on the pit stop.
So Briggs and Ortega both hit their pit box. They actually both nailed the entry here.
Briggs had to back up.
So Ortega with a bit of an advantage. We're keeping an eye as well on the racetrack of Ryan Kelly as everyone else cycling through their pit stops. And we see that Alexander Ortega has already exited his box. So he's going to take over position number 2.
That was 2 right sides. That was 2 right sides for...
Yeah, Briggs taking 4 here. So we'll see the difference in the tire life. Jeff Maconi going to move up to position number 2. So this really could be a great strategy call by Jeff Maconi. His last pit stop, folks, was on lap number 40. So only about 16 laps before that of Ortega and Briggs, which honestly I don't think is going to be that huge of a difference.
We will see what happens right now, though. We're waiting on Kelly to come to pit road. And I think if I'm Kelly, I'm coming. You got to come. I know they didn't do a good job getting to pit road, so you're not going to give up too much as long as you come right now. But it does not look like he is coming.
He's not ready to come yet. He's not ready to come. He'll get there soon. Kelly, Maconi, Ortega, Briggs, Sellers, and Dukes. That's your field as they run. Dukes still on pit road, so issues for him. Sellers did lose a second lap, by the way, so he is now 2 laps down, as the rest of the field, with the exception of Ryan Kelly, is 1 lap down. So Kelly has a lap on the rest of the guys out there currently. So we'll see how that plays out for him with just under 40 laps remaining Ryan Kelly in that 17 machine doing a great job. Started at the back of the field, now finds himself out front. Maconi in that second spot will cycle out to the lead, I do believe, but it just depends on that gap that Ryan Kelly does have.
I will say this: Kelly has kind of started matching Maconi's lap times. Maconi got to this point, and then it's kind of like they're running about the same, 25.5 to a 25.6. So speaks volumes to what Kelly is able to do here in the long run. And we talked about that earlier. I talked about how Kelly was going to the bottom when everybody else was running up the racetrack, and that would help the tires to live, and it's helped them live. Now, my question is, does he think he can get to the end with these tires? Because if so, then great, let's keep doing it. But I don't understand why you wouldn't go ahead and just bite the bullet and pit, because everybody else has.
Maybe he thinks he doesn't have to. Keep in mind, Chris, if he can make it on fuel, he still has an entire lap on these guys. So even if they're a second quicker than him, it's still going to take them 25 laps to get by him, or at least get to him. And at that point, their tires are going to plateau as well. And they're all going to kind of be on an even playing field. So I don't believe that Ryan Kelly intends on coming down pit road unless he absolutely has to for fuel purposes.
Yeah, and one thing here too that we can't forget about is Ortega. He just got 2 tires, so he's not going to have quite the takeoff pace that he would have on 4 tires. I know you're hurting the right sides way more than the left sides, but you're still hurting that left front. As tight as this car is, you're burning up both front tires. So only getting 2, I'm not a big fan of that call either. So I like what Briggs did. We'll just have to see what happens and how this shakes out. Ortega's already running 24.8s, whereas Briggs is still a couple tenths faster.
One thing to note here, by the way, that gap, Briggs is about 0.3 quicker than Ortega. One thing of note is Jeff Maconi is catching up to Ryan Kelly right now. Their gap is about 2 car lengths on the racetrack right now between Kelly and Maconi. Maconi's a little bit quicker, so Jeff trying to put himself back on the lead lap. It would still be that 25-second gap between Kelly and Maconi once Jeff does get back on the lead lap, but if Ryan Kelly pits, that could ultimately swing it in the direction of Jeff Maconi, putting Ryan Kelly a lap down.
At this point, Kelly's not going to pit unless he gets a black flag.
That's exactly it. It's he, in my opinion, Chris, honestly, he's about 8 laps away from the point where he can just keep this pace and nobody has the ability to catch him.
Yeah, and Maconi's here having trouble making this pass, and they're running pretty equal lap times. I know Maconi's a little bit faster, but not enough to make up a 25-second gap that he's going to have to make up in 30 laps. There's 32 to go or whatever. And you see it there. Kelly just pulls over and says, "Go ahead, buddy." Well, I thought, but it looks like he's going to do another. No, he checks up. I thought he was going to do a little elevator move, and then he was like,
Ortega
no.
as well. So the battle's on for second as Alexander Ortega just to the outside there of the 17 of Kelly. That's the battle right there, Maconi and Ortega. So Ortega takes second from Jeff Maconi. Now is Maconi going to try to fire back on the inside? Not quite able to get there. Ryan Kelly still leads the way, but now he has 2 comrades there on the same lap as him. We'll see how things play out over this closing 30 laps. And one thing that we didn't mention that always has the possibility of coming into play as Ryan Kelly nabs the outside wall there is we could get a caution still, and that changes everything.
I'll be surprised if we catch a caution as tight as these cars are. Nobody's really running close. The 17 doesn't want to see a caution, so he's not going to do anything to jeopardize anything here with this battle with Maconi. The 16's on 2 tires. He's in his own little spot. Briggs is on 4, and he's trying to recover there on his 4 tires, so he's in his own little spot. There's not a whole lot of racing going on. It's just everybody's on their own strategy trying to maximize whatever that might be. If you're the 17, you're trying to make it live. If you're Maconi, you're kind of in the same boat. You want to stay right here. You want to stay in front of, the 17. But your tires are the oldest on the track outside of his. You had to really short pit because you had that damage. So he is just hoping for a caution, but it doesn't look like he's probably going to get one. And if you're Briggs, you're the guy that's got 4. So you're just pushing for all she's worth, and saying, "Let me get myself back on lead lap, and maybe have a shot at a podium spot."
It'll definitely be interesting to see how this one develops. And just taking a look now, Kelly back to the inside of Jeff Maconi. By the way, Alexander Ortega has pulled 2 seconds on Jeff Maconi up the road. So these guys definitely having a difference in the pace. I don't think the pace of Ortega is going to be sustainable for him because, of course, he is on 2 tires, as he's also in the outside wall. And that's definitely not going to be of much help for Alexander Ortega.
Yeah, and we're down to just 26 laps to go, coming to 25 to go. I'll tell you what, Ryan Kelly has done a great job. I said earlier that I liked what he was doing to make those tires live. I can't believe he went ahead and stayed on the strategy when everybody else pitted, because it looked like he could have won by getting tires. But he wants to go ahead and show these boys, look how much pace I have, all the while taking care of my right front way better than anybody else.
That's exactly it. He's been able to use those older tires and still run very competitive lap times. His time was a 25.696. And let's compare to Jeremy Briggs, because he did take 4 tires on that pit stop. Last time by, Jeremy ran a 25.1. So it's only half a second in a difference of lap times between 4 fresh tires and 4 very old tires on the Ryan Kelly machine, as he continues to fight just behind Jeff Maconi. We just took a look there just a second ago at Jeremy Briggs, who's holding steady in that 4th spot. So no real battles out there on the racetrack right now, and Ortega has not been able to really take too big of a bite out of that gap that Ryan Kelly has over the rest of the field, as Kelly dives back to the inside of the Jeff Maconi machine. Gonna try to put Jeff 1 lap down once again.
Yeah, and Jeff's got to be sitting there thinking, man, I got newer tires than this guy, and he's going to go back around me. Maybe he's going to be asking these officials down here to take a look at these tires, see what kind of bleeders they're running on that 17 car or something to make these tires live as long as they have and as good as they have. He's still got great pace.
And as that battle kind of falls apart there once again, I do want to just point out, next week, next Friday night, same time, same Maconi Entertainment channel, is the monthly money race. So it's going to be the late model stock car at Richmond, and the winner of that will have a choice between a 1 meter, so 3.3 foot trophy, or $250 cash prize to the winner. Be sure to come out and join us for that one. Those money races are always a great time, as we're coming to 20 to go this time by.
Yeah, coming to 20 to go, and I wonder if Ryan Kelly's going to show up to that money race next week, because he's looking pretty good here at his short track. And I know Iowa's a little bigger of a racetrack than Richmond and whatnot, and its car's a little bit different, but a lot of the same stuff you can take across there as far as saving tires and saving the right front. And I mean, I am super impressed with what Ryan Kelly is doing right here.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly's really done a good job here, Chris, with just 20 laps to go. Currently running out front. Alexander Ortega is second, 20 seconds back of Ryan Kelly at this point. We'll keep an eye, see if he's able to close that gap enough for a battle. I really just don't see it happening. Jeff Maconi holding 3rd, Jeremy Briggs in that 4th spot, and Jonathan Sellers rounding out the top 5 and rounding out the field as they run.
I will say this though, Ryan Kelly making me look pretty smart. I had no insider knowledge. I didn't really know any of these guys outside of Maconi, and I've seen Briggs around, but I just figured I'd pick the guy that started last, try to give him a little help, and help him go up here and win this race. Pull for somebody out here, and my oh my, it looks like I picked the hot shoe.
I still like my pick in Jeff Maconi. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to pay off for him, as now he's going to be under fire once again by Ryan Kelly. Kelly all the way down just about to that yellow line as Jeff working the high side. It doesn't really seem like Ryan Kelly is able to get ahead of Jeff Maconi and pull away whatsoever, but Jeff just really holding steady up on the high side, which is what he's needed to do to keep himself on that lead lap.
Yeah, and this is what Maconi needs to, in case there is a caution. But like I said, it doesn't look like we're going to get a caution. One car coming in. Oh, Maconi's in the wall. That's all the fight she had. She's given up there on Maconi.
We'll see if this allows Jeremy Briggs to close the gap up to Jeff Maconi in these closing laps. The gap between them, I don't believe, is too big out there on the racetrack. As of right now, it's about 3.5 seconds separating Maconi and Briggs for position number 3.
Yeah, Maconi's really fallen off. He ran a 25.9, 26 flat the lap before. And Briggs is running 25.4. So, yeah, I think that the battle is going to be on for third here before the end of this race.
We'll definitely keep an eye peeled on this one as Maconi trying to close the gap right there to Ryan Kelly once again. Of course, Jeremy Briggs, the driver we're keeping an eye on as well in that 4th spot. Jeff doing a nice enough job to keep that gap steady in that 3.5 to 4 second range between himself and Jeremy Briggs. So for Briggs, if he wants to get there, he's got to push it a little bit more. And in Jeff Maconi's sake, if he wants to keep it, he's kind of got to push a little bit less, which sounds a little weird, doesn't it?
Oh, our leader's hard into the wall off of turn 4. Wow, Ryan Kelly just smacked it there off of turn 4.
He smacked it, that's for sure. With 13 laps to go, Ryan Kelly ahead of Ortega by 19 seconds. So still quite the gap. And, you know, I got to say, these cars seem to be handling a little bit better than what I assumed they would. Obviously, the drivers have struggled with hitting the outside wall a couple times tonight, but they have continued to show some decent pace and some great racing. We've had side-by-side, we've had 3-wide, we've had almost 4-wide at certain points throughout this event. So it's nice to see that this SRX car can give some good racing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, they are very tight. I just heard some drivers talking about being, they used, one driver just used the word miserable out here on these old tires. So
Who was that, Jeremy Briggs?
no, that would be Mr. Jeffrey Maconi talking about how miserable he is on those 50-lap old tires right now.
I'm sure the miserable old Jeff Maconi will have some words for us after the race. And he always likes to hop in here after these ones and give us a bit of insight from the mind of the driver, the 03. 10 laps to go. Ryan Kelly, Alexander Ortega, Jeff Maconi, Jeremy Briggs, and Jonathan Sellers. That is your top 5. And the closest battle on the racetrack is that of Jeff Maconi and Jeremy Briggs, which sits at about 3 seconds separating positions number 3 and 4. And actually, I'll stand corrected. That gap is at 2 seconds now between Maconi and Briggs. So Briggs doing a really nice job of closing that gap.
Yeah, but Briggs has lost a lot of pace. He's not closing like he was. He's only beaten him by a couple tenths. That's not going to get you there. Maconi's done a really good job, I think, getting in line behind Kelly and kind of replicating what Kelly's doing. And he's picked his lap times back up. Last time we talked about him, he was running, he ran at 26 flat, 25.9. Well, he's back down into the 7s. He has started figuring out what Mr. Kelly's doing, replicating it, and he has brought his lap times way back down. I think if they started this race all over again right now, Maconi would tell you he learned enough to be able to maybe run for the win.
We'll definitely keep our eyes on the prize here as we're getting down to the closing laps. Less than 10 laps remaining. That gap now is at 1.6 seconds between Maconi and Briggs. I'm going to say this is probably going to be a 2-lap to go battle that will develop there between Maconi and Briggs. And for Maconi, I think if he wants to pull away now from Jeremy Briggs, he has to get by Ryan Kelly, because Ryan's almost at the point where he's slowing Jeff up a little bit.
Well, I think Jeff's figured out how to make some pace. I don't think Briggs is going to get there. I just don't think he's beating him by enough. He's going to get there. He's going to get some dirty air. It's going to tighten him up. 25.67 that time. Maconi ran an 81, so he beat him by a little over a tenth. Kelly with an 83. I just think once Briggs gets there to start getting some dirty air.
I think you're wrong.
I'm glad.
I think Jeremy Briggs is going to get there.
If we were agreeing, it wouldn't be near as fun. I'm going to bet. I'll bet my farm that he doesn't get there.
I live in the city. I don't have a farm, but I'll bet you like a jar of pickles or something.
Jar of pickles?
Yeah, I don't know.
Pickles. Those things are disgusting.
You don't like pickles?
No, sir.
Oh my. Oh my. I got to talk to Jeff about your employment, sir.
You know what I do love is some maple syrup. You got any maple syrup out there?
I'm Canadian, brother. That stuff runs through my veins as we're getting down to just 5 laps to go. Actually, you know what? Let's make it 4 laps to go with Ryan Kelly out front. Jeff Maconi and Jeremy Briggs continuing to battle. Alexander Ortega, he's still out there on the racetrack. He's running in second. He don't got to worry about nobody at this point. He's just out there doing his own thing.
Yeah, it's as you said, 4 to go now, 3 to go. I mean, you might as well go ahead and start boxing up that maple syrup out of your kitchen and putting my address on it, because I just don't think it's going to happen for you.
I don't know, buddy. I don't know, but just a couple of laps to go. About 10 corners remaining now for Ryan Kelly as he's going to come to popsicle sticks this time. 2 laps to go for race leader Ryan Kelly as you see Alexander Ortega into the outside wall once again. At this point, really doesn't matter because he can do whatever he wishes and he's still going to get that second spot as Kelly just took 2 laps to go, going to work his way down the back straightaway for the penultimate time here tonight. As we are getting down to the final lap, white flag going to come out this time, Chris Wright, and we are just 1 lap away from celebrating the victory here of Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, he takes the white flag. He's going to go down into turn 1, and he's just hoping that the right front doesn't go flat. You know, I've seen crazy things happen, so comes off of turn 2. What a strategy, what a call, what a race.
As he comes off of turn number 4 for the final time, it's checkered flag for Ryan Kelly. Kelly going to take the top spot. Ortega in second. Jonathan Sellers going to round out the top 5 here tonight. Chris Wright as Jeff Maconi got Jeremy Briggs for position number 3.
Yeah, did Briggs even get close there?
The gap of the line was 1.1 seconds between Jeff Maconi and Jeremy Briggs. So Briggs did a really nice job. Fireworks on the racetrack. Chris Wright, is Ryan Kelly going to collect the victory here tonight?
Yeah, Ryan Kelly with the big win. What a race. What a battle. I mean, the biggest battle was him with his right front tire. Really, I mean, that was we had a lot of cautions early, but once we got that last caution at, I don't know, what was that, around lap 25 or so? 27? We went green to the end. I think I told you that. I said when that guy was when we lost Paul Tracy out there, I thought we'd go green to the end, and we sure did.
Well, Chris Wright, why don't we go ahead, step away real quick. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk to our podium finishers here tonight at Iowa.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we are back here in Iowa, just wrapping up after what was a great race in the SRX cars here tonight. Ryan Kelly taking the victory over Alexander Ortega and Jeff Maconi. That was the top three, with Jeremy Briggs and Jonathan Sellers rounding out the top five. Brandon Dukes, Blake Crane, and Penn Sauter round out the field of drivers we had here tonight. And Chris Wright, I believe you have caught up with the boss man, the third place finisher, Jeffrey Maconi.
Gotta be, yeah.
Yeah, I am standing here with Jeff Maconi. Jeff, you had a solid run. There was some issues early. You ultimately got that damage. Had to really short pit the field and ultimately maybe threw away a shot at the win. But take us through your night and what more you needed there. It looked like you figured something out there behind that 17 at the lap car.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun out there. And the SRX cars, I don't have a ton of experience with them, but some hit or miss stuff. But just, I was amazed at how tight that car was. And I've driven a lot of race cars. I always complain that they're too tight, but this was just unbelievable how much the car itself felt like it didn't want to move. It wasn't just the car was tight, it was the car actively did not want to turn. It wanted to be a drag car. So, I also took some damage. Ortega bounced off the wall, got into me. It was all just hard racing. I bumped him and sent him into the wall a couple laps earlier, so it was deserved. And then I stayed out. I didn't repair the damage, and then I was just the toe was knocked out. Something was wrong with the car, so I had to short pit, use my fast repair, and I took 2 tires to try and loosen it up. And even then, it was still very tight. And from there, I was even considering a 2-stop race, but when I saw Ryan wasn't pitting at all, I knew that strategy was going right out the window. So I just sort of held on and, was trying to hold off Jeremy for the whole time and barely did. I heard you guys talking about it. I hope you enjoy the maple syrup.
Yeah, I know he's got to get all the maple syrup in his house and send it my way, but we also did see the lap time, and you had fallen off the lap time there a little bit, and the 17 went back around you, and then you kind of it looked like you started figuring some things out, and you dropped your lap times to match what Ryan was doing. So did you learn something there right there at the end?
Absolutely. I was pushing it very hard trying to stay in front of him. I was trying every different line. I thought there's no way the bottom is going to work this long. And then he got around me after I bumped the wall and he went right back to the bottom, and I said, "Well, I guess there's some speed down there." And I backed up my entries way up and just followed him in and would gauge how well I was running it because he was obviously still quick, and I knew I could be as quick as he was. Probably should have been quicker, so I knew bare minimum I could be as quick as he was. So if I was losing time, I knew I needed to push it a little bit more there. If I all of a sudden jumped a bunch of time on him and closed the gap way up, I knew I was overdriving that portion. So learned a lot just sitting behind him. Definitely a ton of fun though. That was a really, really fun race, and you don't really get too many long 80-lap races at Iowa, or in the SRX car, I should say. So having a run that long in a car that's not really used to it, a track where you're not really used to it, was definitely required a lot of learning on the fly.
Well, Jeff, before we let you jump out of here and prepare for the next event in the Maconi Setup Shop series, are there any sponsors you want to thank, shout outs you want to give?
Well, obviously, got to thank the whole crew here at Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Setup Shop. It is incredible what the team around me always does. It's truly incredible. Special shout out to the Road to Pro crew last night. They took on a monumental task of doing 2 high-level broadcasts in one, picture in picture. It's an incredible amount of work behind the scenes to make that happen. So huge shout out to them. Huge shout out to you guys for bringing this race to life. It was definitely one of the smaller races that we've had, but I think some of the best racing action. And huge thank you to iRacing as well, and the MS Society, all of the work that they're doing. We have the charity race coming up in a couple weeks. We're going to be giving away 3 spots. We made a $500 donation to them for all the amazing work that they do. So I'm very excited to run that race myself, the celebrity race, and then also share the track with 3 people who win the giveaway that we're hosting. So be sure to enter that if you're watching.
Well, all right, Jeff, congrats on the run. It was a great recovery after what could have been a terrible race there for you, and we look forward to seeing you again moving forward.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
That was Jeff Maconi, our third place finisher. Now going to talk to our runner up tonight, Alexander Ortega. Alex, walk us through that race and what more did you need to get up there and take that top spot?
I needed whatever Ryan was having, man, because I don't know how he did it on such old tires, but yeah.
Yeah, he took tires on lap number 16. You pit on lap 56. And man, you used every inch of that racetrack tonight, including the outside wall a couple of times. What was the biggest struggle of this SRX car tonight? It did not look overly friendly to you guys.
Uh, Finding pace on the long run, I think, is what all of us kind of struggled with, except for the 17. I mean, I don't know what I needed to really do different with the car. I mean, I was gaining good time right after the pit stop and was hoping, this should work out in my favor. I didn't think he would try to go all the way. And then the lap time started to kind of taper off, and all of a sudden I'm only running a few tenths quicker a lap. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to have enough time to catch him at this rate. And so I think that was kind of the big struggle. The cars were really tight. And so if you missed the corner, you're going to hit that outside wall unless you kind of threw it in downshift and sacrificed a little bit of tire with that.
Now, obviously, you got yourself back on the lead lap, just weren't able to close that gap up to Ryan Kelly. It ended at about 18 seconds between yourself and the winner. Is there something aside from obviously the crazy pit strategy that Ryan Kelly used tonight that you could have done maybe a little bit differently to try to close that gap up to him?
I don't really think so, no. I mean, my tires had fallen off that first run. I was starting to fall back, and the moment Briggs caught me and passed me, he came into pit road. I think my big mistake was following him on the apron, because I could have stayed on track and passed him before we got into the pits. But I mean, I just had nothing there for the 17. I was hoping for a caution there the last 10 laps, because I knew I could get him on the short run, but I had nothing from him after like 15 laps of racing.
Well, you definitely still had great pace here tonight. Started a little bit further in the field and were able to get up there, led some laps, and came home in the second spot. But looking ahead on the schedule, next week we take the Maconi Fast Friday Series to Richmond for our July money race, which again is the choice of a 1 meter, so 3.3 foot trophy, or $250 cash to the winner. Can we expect to see you there in the late model stock at Richmond next week? And if so, do you think you got a shot at the win?
No, because I do not have the late model stock. But
Oh, man.
yeah,
We got to get you that late model stock and get you out there at Richmond. But if you were there, I'm sure you'd have a good shot at that victory anyways. But Alex, before we let you go here tonight, any shout outs you want to give, or sponsors you want to thank for putting you out there on the racetrack tonight?
a shout out to my spotter, Matt Mingo. He did a good job, especially on the restart, just navigating me through the traffic. We had some crazy 3-wide moments, and he was doing good getting me through all of it. And I guess a shout out to you guys hosting these events. They've always been really fun and been worth my time. So, but yeah.
Well, we're glad you could join us here tonight. Congratulations on a solid run, and we hope to see you again in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Well, Chris Wright, that was the runner-up tonight, Alexander Ortega. And before we head off for the evening, any final thoughts from you after what was a great race here in the SRX car?
Yeah, it was a great race out there at Iowa. We saw a lot of different strategies, 2 tires, 4 tires, and then ultimately the 17 stretching the fuel and the tires all the way to the end of the race. Lots of cautions early. It's always fun to get to come out and call one of these Maconi Entertainment races, and always hoping for some time on the schedule there, some free time, so I can come in here and do it with you or with David or whoever. So just shout out to everybody for letting me come in and do this. And it's always fun working with you, Mr. Hill. And it was fun getting to work with David tonight for the first time. And so maybe we'll do it again soon.
Well, glad you could join us here tonight, Chris. And before we head off for the final time this evening, once again, just a reminder to join us next Friday night for the money race, late model stocks at Richmond, $250 or a 3-foot trophy up for grabs. But we do want to thank tonight's race sponsors, Maconi Setup Shop, as well as Maconi Competizone. Calling the action tonight was myself, Robert Hill Jr., alongside Chris Wright in the booth, with David Kreutz on the ones and twos as our producer. We also want to thank all of our viewers for watching tonight's racing action, and we hope you stay tuned to all of our social media pages for our next Fast Friday race. And don't forget, folks, to tune in each week for our broadcast of the top split of the Maconi Setup Shop C-Fix series. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we'll see you at the checkered flag. Good night, everybody.